Let's get into the competition because you came out right away, guns a-blazing, which I appreciate, because that's how I see it too, right? I look at the deposit tokens thing. I am interested, but to me it does seem like this competition, and I don't understand what they're competing for, but I know it's a lot of money. But let's start about who they're competing against. Can you define stablecoins and CBDCs for our audience?
Absolutely. So the typical definition of a stablecoin is essentially it's pegging. And what we understand when we say pegging, or what we mean when we say pegging, is there is an underlying asset. And one of the biggest stable currencies out there is the true USD or the USDC, which essentially have the US dollar as an underlying currency. And that means, for example, I'm giving, let's say for this example, you are my bank, and I'm giving 100 US dollars to you, and you give me a digital currency in exchange. You always promise me, or you promise me that you will always take 100 units of that digital currency back and will give me my 100 US dollars in return. Meaning that from a marketing perspective and from a market perspective and market mechanic, this digital currency will always be worth $1 per unit. And that is essentially what a stable currency is. It is stabilized against an underlying asset. In most cases nowadays, that would be the US dollar, but it could be anything else for that matter. So, for example, a big player until recently was actually Meta, so the company behind Facebook. And they wanted to create a digital currency, and they would have pegged it against a basket of shares, essentially. And that would also be a stable currency, just it wouldn't be stable against a so-called fiat currency like the USD, but it would rather be stable against a basket of shares.
Okay, so
or bonds.
Bernhard, let me ask a question, because like I have a show about crypto, and I have to be honest, like stablecoins sometimes they're very confusing, right? And now you throw in deposit tokens and CBDCs, and there's all these different agendas going on. What is happening? Is this people just trying to like control crypto? Is that essentially what's going on?
I wouldn't necessarily say so. The reason we have a lot of stable currencies is if you want to use crypto in your daily life, the volatility that other cryptocurrencies have might be detrimental to your intentions, right? So let's say, for example, you want to be a business that accepts cryptocurrency for payment, which is what our main business here at the People's SCE is. And then you have a currency that in the morning might be worth $1, and in the evening it might be worth $1.50. And what happens is, in that case, you've made a profit, but it might also go the other way around. And after all, and we have to be realistic on that, after all, you're still paying your taxes and your suppliers in fiat currencies, so in central bank issued currencies. And stable currencies essentially mitigate that problem by allowing you to have a certain amount of trust in the fact that in the evening, you will still have the same amount of money that you had in the morning when you sold that good, when it was worth exactly $1, and that value will not change. Okay. And that is why stablecoins are growing over the past years by now, actually, and are seeing more and more usage in the general public as well.
And I get that, and I appreciate your definition for our audience. But to me, and I have like a math background, right? So it just seems like if they're the same variable, you cancel them out. You're still not accounting for the variance in the value of the cryptocurrencies, right? So I get it, like they're pegged 1-to-1 to dollars or whatever, but you remove those, like cryptocurrency is still volatile, right? So I guess I still don't really understand the main function of stablecoins.
Well, yes, it is still volatile. And I mean, from my understanding, what you're getting at is stable currencies are still a cryptocurrency and thus they're volatile. But the way markets work is if I'm selling something on the market, it would generally decrease the price in its most basic form, right? However, if there's another central entity, and that in the case of a deposit token would be a private bank, in the case of a stable currency, it would be a private entity that is usually not a bank. And in the case of a CBDC, it would be a central bank. They would always promise that they will buy it back for a specific amount. And that's why it keeps stable. Other cryptocurrencies that are not stable coins, they do not have that factor. So they are volatile and they change their value, which stable currencies do not.
No, I understand. I guess I do question where stable coins are in the ecosystem. But one thing we can definitely agree on is that they're worth a lot of money. And this is why you see all the competition. You see the governments getting in there. You see the private banks. There's public corporations. Like everybody's Everybody's trying to get a piece of the pie. Look, let's go to break. I want to get more into this war that is getting bloodier by the moment. I'm here with Bernhard Blaha on the Daily Drop.